And all of a sudden, as I'm talking to the client and I'm kind of gazing up in the room, this incredible being, and it came with a light of love. I mean, I was washed in unconditional love, and I was communicating with this angel saying, why are you here? What is this? And first of all, the angel said, because the angels are really trying to save humanity. I said, who are you? This being said, I am your mother from the angelic realm. Hi, everybody. My name is Reverend Sue Frederick, and this is your superior self.
Ooh, perfection. Miss Sue, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I am fascinated by your work, your story. I haven't been able to get my hands on one of your books, but that is going to be the next step in my process. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, very fun to be here with you.
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be a great time. So, because we're going to be talking about numerology, your subjective experience in this life, and shared experience or shared death experiences, which
Yep.
I'm familiar with those through Raymond Moody's work.
Right.
Um, and I mean, it's like I don't even know how to wrap this package up because you have so many different experiences that I'm like, you know what? Let's just flow. Let's just
Okay.
let the universe take us where we need to go for tonight. But let's
Mhm.
give some people some context, right? Numerology, like what is that? I was never really excited about numbers before I met you. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and lead us into that?
Well, I do want to say that numbers have never been my forte, and that I grew up in the 50s and 60s I was a writer in school, and I was educated in Convent of Mercy, and the nuns were not really great math teachers back then. So I was all about English and words and history, and actually that served me very well because my left brain, I truly believe that I came into this earth with my left brain logic mind not as strong as it needed to be here. And so I was always a very different kind of learner growing up. And I always joke that if I'd grown up in this time period, they would have immediately diagnosed me with ADHD and all these things and medicated me. And I'm so glad that didn't happen, because I think every person has their own way of understanding and processing the world. And it's their unique way, and it's perfect for them. So I found my way as a writer. I went off to University of Missouri in 1969 when the world was shifting on its axis, and ended up marching against Vietnam War, and then dropping out of school, being disowned, all that stuff that happened to us kids back then in the early 60s, late 60s. And it was all perfect for my soul journey because it forced me to really seek, who am I and what do I believe in? If I don't believe in my Catholic Southern conservative upbringing, what is it that I do believe? And that question got me going, got me involved with a group of hippies like me in the early 70s. We bought 300 acres of land in Missouri and started an organic sustainable farm in 1970 and 71, before that was even a thing, right?
Wow.
So I was always living kind of left of center. And and then I met this beautiful man, and we were mountain climbers, because that's a long, crazy story, but I'd started climbing mountains and rock climbing in the 70s in my 20s. And he was just incredible. His name was Paul Frederick, and he loved the mountains. And we had such a wonderful love, got married. And then all of a sudden, he had some stomach problems. And the doctors, by the time they did a good diagnosis, because this was the 70s, they gave him 2 weeks to live with colon
Mm.
cancer. That began my spiritual journey. Actually, he lived for a year, and we went on a path, on a journey of learning about healing. And we did conventional medicine, alternative medicine, spiritual healers, Native American healers. That was profound. And I really believed that we could save his life. We were all about overcoming challenges and all that good 70s outward bound stuff. And then I suddenly learned as he was taking his last breath, wow, no, the big challenge is surrender, is letting go of what we want to happen and surrendering to what is happening, and especially what is meant to happen for another person. And it was like my will just going, oh, so you can't will yourself up this mountain of healing Paul. Paul has his own soul mission, his own soul story. So when he crossed, I was holding him in my arms. He was in a hospital bed and had my arms around him. And I saw clear as day his soul leave his body. And his mother was with me and she saw it too. And then move out the window towards the mountains that we had loved. And it just lifted me up into an altered state of reality. That's what a shared death experience is. And then he spent weeks whispering to me, constantly going, do you see how that happened right there? That's part of divine order. People don't understand divine order in the earth realm. And he was just teaching me. And then he would be in bed with me at night, and I'd wake up with him wrapped around me, holding me. And then a being in white would reach over and tap him, and he'd let go and move up. So many of those experiences after he crossed, that I really was in an altered state for, I'd say, maybe a month or so. And then kind of that phase ended, and I sort of crashed into the reality of, gee, I'm 29 years old. The love of my life just died a very painful death. And I have no way to make a living because I'm a mountain climber, and I just can't do that anymore. And so I began my real journey. And the saving piece of it was a visit with a numerologist who said, and I'd been to grief therapists and they did nothing to help me. And basically the message was, you'll get over this, you're young, you'll find another husband, blah, 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 blah. The worst thing grief counselors can ever say. And it really made me angry. And I was like, if there's a God, why do good people suffer? And then where I know Paul is alive and well in the spirit world, but why can't I go there and join him? Why am I still here on earth? What is my purpose? And the only person that could answer those questions was a numerologist who started teaching me and showing me, look, Sue, this is your soul path that you chose, and this is Paul's, and this was your soul agreement. And look, these are your reinvention cycles. And I just began to see it all in a very different way. Like, wow, this is a life plan. Like my soul agreed to go through this. It's not a random tragedy. And my soul wanted to evolve and help Paul evolve in what he needed to grow and learn. And it's like somebody flipped a switch, and I was just seeing it all in a completely different way. And numerology since 1980 has been my way of going, wait a minute, I need to see this from a higher perspective, the soul's view, understand what life is really about. And the numbers have always given me that wisdom. And I've been a working numerologist, making my living from it for 20 something years. So I love it, but I don't think it's not about numbers. People go, oh, do you love math? No, the numbers are a portal, a tool to help humans remember that we are divine beings on an intentional journey of growth on Earth. There are many tools like that: astrology, tarot, all kinds of things, human design, you name it. There's a million tools that humans have to dig beyond the surface and really ask those big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Why do people suffer? And where do my loved ones go when they cross? And traditional therapy, and I have a bachelor's in psychology, so I'm very aware of what they used to teach. They are changing more now. But traditional therapy did not touch those questions. It was more about, you just got to buck up and move on, and let's go focus on your pain and talk about your pain a lot. And that just early on, I knew that that was not the path of healing. And so I have written all kinds of books because every time I learn something, I have to write about it. It's kind of how I process the world. And I then lost my very best girlfriend right after Paul died. She had been my childhood best girlfriend, Chrissy. And her death was, I guess we could say, the icing on the cake for me, because she came out to visit me when Paul died and to help me, and was so loving and helpful. And we had amazing conversations about life and death. And then we went skiing and she fell and bruised her leg. And by the time we got her to the airport, her legs were horribly bruised. And we were like, my gosh, what's wrong with you? And by the time she landed in California, where she lived, they took her by ambulance to the hospital and diagnosed her with a very aggressive leukemia. And then she suffered horribly for a year. And at that point, Trey, I was not an evolved soul. I just said, screw this world. I'm out of here. And the best way I could do that was to give away and sell my belongings and to Mexico and teach fitness, which I did, as crazy as it sounds, the early 80s, the headband and everything. I didn't want to try to have a meaningful life. I didn't care. I was in such a crisis, and anybody who's grieving knows that crisis place. Chrissy then, when she crossed, gave me my most profound shared death experience, because she lifted me that whole night. I didn't know she had died. I thought she was doing better in remission in California, and I'd seen her just a couple months before. And so one night, she was all night with me in my dreams, making me laugh in the way that only Chrissy could ever make me laugh, to where my stomach muscles would hurt from laughing. And she was flying us around, showing us people we knew and we'd grown up with, and laughing, so happy. And I woke up that morning going, I was with Chrissy all night. And then I was like, oh no, I was with Chrissy all night. And I called her mom, and her mom said, yeah, she had crossed last night. And Trey, she had come to me in spirit right away to show me that there is no death, that the spirit leaves the body and feels freedom and laughter and joy. And oh my God, I still get chills. And then she came back again other times to tell me other things. And so then I had a third one with my father, which I won't talk about now, just because I feel like I've gone on too long about these. But then I had in 2014 an out-of-body experience, which has really helped me in the last few years to understand life. Do you want me to talk about that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So in 2014, I was already doing the work I do today, working with numerology, but also always focused on helping grieving people in particular, because I believe that our pain is meant to be our fuel to help other people. And so I did I still do intuitive work with numerology and what I call grief shifting, helping people connect to their departed. So I was teaching a big workshop like that on the East Coast. And then I flew home to my home in Colorado, and I was suddenly really sick. And this was 2014, before COVID, but it was kind of that kind of an illness where I had this raging fever, coughing so bad I couldn't breathe, and just really sick. And one night left my body and was held by these angelic, loving beings in space. If the viewers are watching the screen, this is what it looked like. I was shown planet Earth from a distance, and I was shown all these beams of light shooting up from the Earth. And the divine beings who were holding me were going, Sue, you have to understand that the light is always winning. The love is always winning, no matter how dark things on Earth can seem. And I was like, well, what do you mean? What is that light? And they said, every time a human on earth opens their heart and begins to recognize that they're more than a physical being, begins to practice compassion and love and kindness, that love shoots up from their essence and lights the darkness and then sparks other souls to awaken. And it was a moving vision. They were showing me how the light was moving around the planet, filling in all the dark crevices. And they said, in the next few years, Earth will be at a very intense time of growth and transition. But you have to tell people that you can't look at it close up day to day and feel like it's all terrible. You have to help people pull back and see this bigger vision and assure them that love and light is always winning and always will win. And I remember when I woke up and was back in my body, I got my computer out, my laptop, and I just started writing and writing and writing everything they had told me. And then they continued to channel it through me as I wrote my book through a divine lens. And their big message really is that each of us have a choice to stand for this light of higher consciousness or to just focus on the darkness of all the terrible things that happen on earth. And that the more of us who focus on the light and love each other, no matter how much we may disagree or any of the crazy stuff that goes on in the world today, if we can find that compassion, that kindness, that deeper understanding of life, then we are standing up for the light. And that vision has helped me so much since 2014.
Wow. That was an entire like that's like an entire book in itself.
Yeah.
Going back, uh, my first question that popped in my head was the shared experience, death experience with your husband
Mm-hmm.
when you saw him, right? And Raymond
Mm-hmm.
Moody talks about shared death experiences and the research. He actually experienced one. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny. My mom gave me a book about an RN who
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know her before. My mom's an RN. My wife's an RN. So there's this
Oh.
RN that has written this book about hospice care and some of
Mm-hmm.
the phenomena that happens in hospice, like
Mm-hmm.
patients seeing their
Right.
deceased loved ones and talking to them, and she talks about her experience when she first walks in. She sees a
Mm-hmm.
patient talking to her loved one, and she's similar background, Southern Catholic or
Mm-hmm.
Southern something of
Yeah.
some type of religious dogma, and she's like, what is going on, right? Like she's talking to, or this person is talking to their daughter who's
Mm-hmm.
been passed, and they didn't know how to take it. And it's like you experience this phenomena for
Mm-hmm.
yourself through these shared death experiences. And I'm curious too, was that, I know that the path to healing for
Mm-hmm.
you for that over that year took you down different avenues,
Yep.
alternate medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
I assume that you are open to many different modalities, and maybe your actual framework of reality was a certain way. But when you had that shared death experience, like, what did that do to like your paradigm, right? Like, what did to your belief
Yeah.
systems? Did it change them
So,
radically?
well, I've always been different is the only word I can come up with it. I mean, if you had known me when I was a kid, you would have probably said, "Oh, that's a weird kid."
Well,
Hey,
did you experience any of that phenomena when you were a kid? Like, seeing
yeah, like
spirit?
I had precognitive dreams, and I would come to the breakfast table in the morning completely innocently and go, "Oh, I had a dream that I was in Denise's car and Gwen was driving, and we were coming home from school on Old Shell Road, and this big truck pulled in front of us, and it was green with two doors and a padlock, and we hit it." And my family would go, "Oh my God, Sue, you and your dreams." And then my father would say, "We don't dream in color," because that's what they believed in the 60s. And everybody would kind of poo-poo my dream. And then later at the end of a long school day, when I was not thinking about that dream, Denise and Gwen and I would get in the car, and Gwen would say, "I have a headache." And suddenly Denise is driving and I'm in the back, and there was a detour. We end up on Old Shell Road, and I'm still not remembering, right? And all of a sudden, this green truck pulls in front of us with the two doors and the padlock. And I'm screaming from the back seat, don't hit the truck. It's my dream. And so we just bumped it and didn't crash into it the way we could have. And that night, as I was at home telling my family about this, it mostly troubled them. And troubled is a good word because they were Catholic. And in the Catholic paradigm, you know, those things are still considered like the devil's work or something, right? Um, so my father really wanted to understand what I was experiencing, and he was an engineer, so logical, you know, and he would take me to the library in the 60s and go, well, let's try to figure out if there's any research on dreams coming true and all these things. And I love him so much that he did that. Like, he was so trying to understand his strange daughter, and also so worried about how I would ever survive on Earth and make a living. And, you know, certainly being a writer was not a lucrative career, especially in the 60s. So he had great concern about me. But then I found my people as soon as I went off to college, and we were all marching against the war and taking a stand for natural health and organics. And that way of thinking became normal, like to always question the society story, the rules that are handed to you, and to try to think outside of the box. Um, you know, I think that I've struggled with it a lot because you have to play a certain game here to make a living and survive. And I was a journalist for years because I was a writer, and the only way I could figure out how to make a living was to sit, you know, behind a typewriter and then a computer and write health stories. So I became a pretty good health writer, even became editor of a big health magazine for a while. But my soul was nudging me, going, oh, come on, Sue, how many times can you write about building the immune system or vitamin C? You've got to write about the real things you care about, spirituality and why we're here. And so I had a reinvention point, and that's what's so helpful about numerology. Numerology actually marks out our reinvention points for us. So when I hit one, suddenly that career I had that had made a living for me kind of crashed and burned. It was 1999 and the dot-com world crashed. And I was, by that time, promoted to be this VP of content for big dot-com health websites. And suddenly they all crashed, like in 1 year. 5 of those that I was hired to be the editorial person, they all crashed. So then my dark night of the soul, how do I make a living here? I'm back to that question, you know. And my guides, my angels, everybody said, Sue, you have to do what you've always done for free. You've always talked to your friends about their numerology path, helped them out with intuition, you know, all of these kind of spiritual, intuitive things. And I said, right. And I'm a single mom now with a mortgage to pay and no one helping me. And I'm going to make a living doing that. And the answer was yes. And so I built a website on my computer one weekend. I had to buy software. It was before it was easy to build a website. And my beautiful little 4-year-old daughter was on my lap watching me do it. And then I started seeing clients. And because it was my path, and I think everybody has a very unique gift here and a very unique path, but because that was mine, it had magic that brought it to the world. You know, just I would be invited to teach at Naropa University about intuition and career. And then I'd be invited, I even taught at the University of Colorado for a while about finding a meaningful future and career through these alternative ideas. I mean, when I look back at the crazy magic that happened, I'm so blown away by it. But I think that happens for everybody when they're doing their true work, their unique work. So then that brought me all the way here. But I'll also say that every 9-year cycle is a reinvention point for all of us, whether we like it or not. So I was cruising along, doing my work, living in Colorado with my beautiful husband that helped me raise kids, and we have a beautiful family. And so we were having a great life, and all of a sudden he was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. And I had to put my work aside. We only found one doctor who would give him any hope, and it was here in Arizona where I live now. So selling the family home, moving down here to Phoenix for the Mayo Clinic to be with this doctor and this treatment plan, and me not knowing, I mean, can I work again, or am I now a caretaker? Like, what is my future? And is my beloved husband going to die the way Paul did? And then that was my 9-year reinvention. And the miracle of that one is that I knew about surrender by then. And I was like, okay, I'm going to love on you. I'm going to hold you in prayer and light. But if it's your time to go, babe, that's okay. You don't have to stay here for me. And he just had a miracle cure here. He's been through this kind of cutting edge treatment, and he's doing incredible. It's been 6 years now. And so my work came back into gear here. And these are examples of these reinvention points that are always nudges of the soul to say, hey, it's time for you to kick your work up and your life up to the next level, because we're required to grow here, Trey. That's the thing we all say, oh, I'm going to live happily ever after if I get the right career or the right partner. No, we're all growing all the time.
Sure. I mean, growth is going up against that resistance, right? Like it's going outside
Yes.
of your comfort zone and getting yourself in that place of, I don't want to call it pain, but it is going to be a little, let's say,
Well,
complicated, right?
Trey, I do believe that pain serves an important purpose here. And I think that grief is our greatest spiritual teacher. If we were all here just having a big old party, just
Yeah.
manifesting toys and cars and all that stuff, first of all, what an empty life. Second of all, there would be no growth involved, no evolution. And we are divine beings who come to the earth realm on purpose, not only to evolve our own souls, but to help the collective of humanity evolve. Pain is probably the only thing that really makes us wake up and ask those big questions that we need to ask in order to grow. And grief in particular, I always tell people, if grief is your greatest teacher, it means you're a highly evolved soul and you really wanted to wake up in this lifetime. And so you agreed that you would go through some form of loss, devastating loss, so that it would open your heart and get you to start seeking really meaningful answers about who you are and why you're here.
Well, I think you've had your fair share of grief. So does that mean that you are an advanced soul? Like, and how would you know about that, right? Unless you had access to some type of higher realm and knowledge of who you
Well,
truly
first
are,
of
right?
all, I will not say in any way that I'm a highly evolved soul, because my human self feels like it bumbles its way through life, constantly making mistakes and doing it wrong. And then somehow, because I have an open heart, because I have a courageous heart, I am able to feel the intuitive pathway that I'm supposed to take. And that has been how I've gotten through. But I will say that I also believe, Trey, that there are these three in particular soul group origins. And one is the interplanetary beings who come and incarnate on Earth for specific reasons. Another is the Earth-based souls who've incarnated here thousands and thousands of lifetimes. Those are those souls who are very competent, very at home in this physical world, and usually comfortable making a living. Success comes to them easy, but they may be asleep in certain ways. And then the IP beings, the interplanetary beings, come in with these new ideas that are trying to help move us forward in our development. And then the third group is the angelic realm souls who come from the angelic realm with the intention of dropping into earth for one purpose, to heal and help humans so that they can live well and accomplish their soul mission here. And I have
Well,
been
which
told,
one are you? Well, I
I've
guess you're
been
getting ready to
told
answer
by
that.
Dr. Linda Bachman that I am one of the angelic realm souls. Now, that doesn't mean I'm all that. It means actually that I really don't have a clue how this earth realm works, and that I have bumbled my way through it. And most of the time I'm going, what is going on here? And I lean into people who are earth-based souls because they are so solid here. And so if you saw my circle of friends, so many of them are just very grounded and very comfortable here. And I love having those people around me because my experience is completely different with that. But everybody has that purpose of their own intuition, their own gift, their own path. And we're all working together to collectively save and heal humanity.
Hmm. Oh, so many questions. I think numerology is very interesting to me because it's like you said earlier that it's a tool for tapping into. Like, what are we tapping into? And like the information that you're getting, like the categories and like it's very specific information. Like, where are you getting that from? And I guess is numerology helping you tap into that? And then again, just to
Well,
kind of reframe that
the
a little bit, is like, what is
here's
it?
the thing, it's more than our logic mind reveals. And so, whether we're talking about souls coming from different origins, or we're talking about numerology, or we're talking about our soul path here, why we're here, all of that knowledge lives in the higher realms, but our logic mind will never get us to those answers. So if you are a little less left brain dominant, like I am, it's a little easier trip to learn to quiet the mind and meditate. I've been meditating every day since the 70s. That's a really important step because meditation quiets the human mind. And once we quiet that mind, our higher self is able to talk to us and give us ideas and show us things. And many humans are terrified of quieting that mind. They really believe they are their thoughts, their logic. And that is so funny when you look at it from the higher realms and you see these humans bumbling around on earth like ants climbing an anthill, pushing dirt up the hill with no understanding of a bigger picture. And so when we quiet the mind, when we do sacred practices, whether it's meditation or writing, automatic writing, or even being in nature, we begin to hush the left brain and we begin to hear the higher wisdom that comes in through the soul, through the higher consciousness realms. And so when you say, where's that information coming from? It's a shift of vibration. It's a shift of frequency. So for example, if I'm working with a client, I sit down and I have their folder where I've outlined their chart and their reinvention cycles, put my hand on that, and then I meditate, quiet the mind. And then I call in the guides and say, please give me the words to help this soul move forward. And I write it all down and then share it with the client. That is not logic. That is coming from this higher frequency that we all have access to. And as long as you think it's going to come from your left brain, you're like walking down the wrong path.
Well, let me ask you this, since you're so unique. You've had a unique, a very unique life to your,
Mhm.
to who you are. Have you ever experienced any like uh different like glitches, right, in this reality where you have seen maybe different dimensions like pop up? I mean, you had a shared death experience, you had an out of body experience, but like, do you see things in your everyday life that kind of like make you question about like what's going on here? Like, oh, this is just a reminder that we are here temporarily having this experience for growth, right? Like, have there been anything that has stood out?
Right. The good news is once you start trusting that knowledge that does not come in through the left brain, you live in that world every day. And
Really?
I know for me, it comes in, everybody has a different way that knowledge comes in more frequently and easily. For me, it's auditory. And the funny thing is, I was a writer since I was in second grade. I was writing poetry and stories. And I look back on that, I was just taking notes. I was hearing the voice, these beautiful voices tell me things, write poetry through me, and I was just writing it down. And the reason I know that is because as I got older and I was writing real books and getting real books published, that as I allowed it to happen more easily, entire books would come through in a voice that I could hear that I knew wasn't my voice and was very loving. And I would just rush to get in front of the computer and write it all down as it was coming through. So for me, it's always been first an auditory connection, like a voice saying
So
things
like
to
someone
me.
else's voice.
Yes, but a
Really?
very loving voice.
Is it male or
Um,
female?
it's both. It depends on kind of what I'm asking about, or when the books are dictated to me. I would say there's no gender in that voice. It is simply a being that is giving me those words and pouring that through me. And then you learn to listen for it. Like I'll say, hey, I've got to make this big decision now. I need to hear what my right step is, and you wait for it, you go about your life, you try to raise your frequency, and all of a sudden you get this download that tells you exactly what to do. And it does come in primarily auditory for me, but in many circumstances, it has come in visually as well, meaning that I've had dramatic moments of seeing spirit, and seeing an angel, for example, in my bedroom. But I
What
think,
did the angel look like? Like a
oh, do you want me to
traditional
show you a
angel?
picture of
Yeah.
my angel? Because I took a picture of it. Um, I have to put it up here in my screen. Um, I took a picture of this because I was doing a client session, and
Mm.
let's see, and I was sitting in my office at home because I work from home on Zoom, and the lights were the same as they always are when I work with clients, the window shades, it was all the same. And all of a sudden, as I'm talking to the client and I'm kind of gazing up in the room, this incredible being, and it came with a light of love. I mean, I was washed in unconditional love as I saw it. It was lingering, like hanging out. And that's why, even though I was doing a client session, I was like picking up my phone to take a picture of it because I could hardly believe it. And I wanted to see if I could document it, and get a picture. And I did. And then, it began to dissipate, but I was communicating with this angel saying, why are you here? What is this? And first of all, the angel said two things: that they were kind of urging me to continue to share angelic realm messages with the world because the angels are really trying to save humanity, to trust the messages that come through. The second thing was, I said, who are you? And I still get chills. This being said, I am your mother from the angelic realm. And I cried so much from that because it felt so true. And what I mean by that is, on this earth realm and this earth life, I had a mother who was a good person. Like, she didn't do anything terrible, but she didn't ever like me or love me. And and so part of my lesson here, my growth, was to figure out how to get love from a different, source
Source.
other
Yeah.
than my mother. And so that was exactly what I needed to learn. But when that angel said that to me and said, hey, I am your angelic realm mother, it was like coming home. It was like, oh gosh, I remember you. Thank you so much. And also there was a sense of, you're doing well, but you have to keep going. This is the time that you need to be fearless and speak up and teach and write and all of that. So it was like a sense of urgency and a sense of love. And and so I have been allowing myself to channel in angelic messages for people, because I was very hesitant about sharing it. I've always heard the voice, but to share it through spoken word rather than written word was a big leap for me, because I'm
Yeah,
kind
because
of
I can't do
an,
that, right? That's just,
yeah,
I
and
can
I'm
write it
kind of
down.
right. And I'm kind of an introvert. Like, I don't want to be sitting up there channeling, I want to be able to say, oh, here, I wrote this book. This is what the angels told me.
Sure.
And that feels so much safer to me. But I just got their message, and I've been allowing myself to do that. Every time we step up to that next level of our growth and our work, we are helped by the guides, helped by the angelic realm, helped by the divine beings. We're never alone here. And the biggest lie that we're handed on earth is, hey, we're all in this alone, and if you can't see it, touch it, or feel it, it's not real. That's why people are crazy here. But
Yeah.
the truth is, we are all collectively connected, and we're all working together on a soul level to try to evolve humanity. And we have these beautiful beings working in our favor to help us, the angelic realm, the divine guides, even the interplanetary beings, the good ones who want to save humanity. So there's an orchestra of love and wisdom and truth trying to help us at all times. We just have to listen and trust, even if it's not logical, trust what comes to us and become, I always say it's like becoming the mystic, trusting that the invisible world is more real than the real world. And that's certainly what my husband Paul has come back and told me a million times is, hey, that physical world you're in, it is so not real. And he has shown me that in so many ways.
It's funny. I always carry this figurine with me, right? It's like a little angel and it
Oh,
kind of,
that's
you can't really see
great.
it, but it's
Yes.
kind of like the same, like,
Yes.
silhouette as your picture.
Oh my gosh, maybe we're related in the angelic realm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you're
I,
my brother.
maybe. Uh, little brother, little bro Trey.
Yes.
Um, what is our relationship to angels, right? Like, as
Yeah.
sparks of the divine, like, what is that?
Yeah. It's so funny because I grew up Catholic, and the Catholic tradition of all the Christian things, the Catholics always gave more homage to the angels than other traditions. You see in the Catholic, that they don't use a Bible. Well, they used to not use the Bible as much as they used their can't even think of the name of it, catechism, missal.
Catechism. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were pictures, beautiful pictures I remember seeing of the archangel Michael and all these beautiful angels and how they were helping humans and helping Jesus. And I remember being very like stunned by that beauty and really drawn to it. And yet I was mostly drawn to Mother Mary, which also the Catholic Church really pays a lot more homage to than the other paths, even though they dismiss her and don't give her any spiritual power, very much. I believe Mother Mary is a powerful divine being, part of God consciousness, and in charge of the angelic realm. So this is why I was so drawn to that from the time I was a child. And yet, many times in my life growing up, I was kind of miraculously saved by strange things that would happen, whether I was rock climbing or one time in the road and didn't see a car coming, and strange things would happen where I was delivered out of danger, you could say. And as I would look back at them, I would think, that was an angel intervention. And I just knew that it was somehow. Even there are times, Trey, when an angel will take a human form to drop in and help somebody quickly. And because they can't show up looking like an angel on the sidewalk of New York,
Yeah, yeah.
and so they'll take a human form and step in and help someone. And I had several incidents where that kind of thing happened for me. And so as I would look back on it, I would think, gosh, these angels are so comforting to me. And now at this phase of my journey, they are the most present beings around me. And I will even say, when I want to talk to them, I'll say, hey, angels, are you here for me now? And I'll hear their beautiful voices saying, yes, of course, we're here for you, Sue. What do you need, or what are you asking? And I've grown to love it and embrace it and trust it so very much.
Mm. Hmm. How did you know they were angels in your reality, right? Did you just have that message or that knowing? Did you see a wing? Did you see a feather? Like
I don't see wings on these beings. I mean, you saw that. It's more like a light
Sure. Well, I mean, like when they
configuration.
saved you, right? Like, or
Right.
when they like maybe guided you or gave you an intuition, like an intuitive hit to do something different. Like, how did you,
Yeah.
like, did you see the same
It
exact
wasn't
silhouette?
it wasn't an angelic being physically, visually in front of me. It was always an auditory message of a different caliber than just my everyday guides. And it was also a sense of knowingness. We have a sense of vision that is different from the sense of vision that helps me see you on the screen. It's a different inner vision. And in that inner vision, yes, that's where we can really see departed loved ones, angelic beings, and all of that. That's why when the angel appeared in my bedroom and actually was physically represented that way, it was so stunning to me, because no, I'm not the girl who's walked around seeing winged angels all my life. I'm not. But that one moment showed me they were pulsing beings of light. And that feels very real and very true to me.
Sure. Have you ever connected with the one consciousness, the one mind, the one source,
I
the
call
all that
that
ever
God
is?
consciousness. I
Yeah.
call that the God consciousness that runs this universe is always a force of good, always a force of unconditional love. And that consciousness runs through all of us. So the whole story man created about a punishing God, sending people to heaven and hell, that was simply a left brain logic, very limited idea and understanding of how this layer of life and consciousness works. And I would say completely wrong as well. And so when you begin to say, gosh, there is a loving God force that runs through, like, Star Wars got it right. It's a force. And when you say, oh, that's the force of good, the force of love, and that is the strongest force, and it runs everything, and it always acts for humanity's highest good.
Hmm.
Now we can feel that we're all part of it. And how do we access it? I say it's all about breathing into the heart, opening the heart, and getting out of the mind, because the mind tries to get you to listen to the mind and not trust the heart. And so when you breathe into the heart chakra, it opens and shifts your frequency. It shifts your vibration. Now you are aware that you are part of the God force of unconditional love.
Mm, I love that. Oh, let's I don't know. I feel like we need to talk a little bit about numerology here because I'm just like
Okay.
I'm getting sidetracked here.
No, it's good. Okay, so let's do numbers. Um, so you want me to start and just talk about
Yeah.
Pythagoras?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, so
Yeah,
how does a number let you know like what about your path, right? Like what is it about like your I feel like a lot of people come to you for like career tips or journey or purpose.
grief. They're very concerned about where their loved one is, but also how do they continue? Why are they still here? And that's what the numbers are so good with. And, you know, this numerology started Pythagoras, the Greek mystic. And I think I get the numbers confused, but I think it was 560 BC or something. And Pythagoras created our whole number system that we use today. But nobody talks about the fact that he was also a spiritual mystic. He started a school for enlightenment, and he taught that every number is not only a quantity, but it's also an energy, a quality. And so when I hear these engineers go, oh, numbers are just logical, blah, 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 and go, oh, Pythagoras is laughing at you, because that's not how he started the number system. And so he believed that, for example, each digit of a number carries a frequency, a vibration. And once you start learning about them and playing with them and studying and working with them, oh, it just becomes so filled with wisdom and insight. So, for example, a very easy summary is that every number is digited down to a single digit. So, for example, if the number 41, you would add the 4 and the 1 together and get 5. And so you just digit numbers down to a single digit. And I have a sacred numerology workbook on Amazon that's only $5, and it explains all of this as well. And I teach classes on it. But the number 1 is just the way it sounds: beginnings, starting new things, overcoming self-doubt to be a visionary, leading a way, a new way through life. The number 2 is just like, you can think T for two people connecting, two people helping each other. That and also has to do with details. You can hear my cat crying over here.
It's all good.
She loves the numbers, and she loves sitting with me when I'm talking about numbers and working with clients. And then the number 3 is about creativity and about being very unique and taking a self-expressive path through life. The number 4 is about strength and hard work, developing inner strength, outer strength, and being able to stay the course no matter what comes towards you in life. The number 5 is about expansion and change and courage of the heart and breaking the rules, living on the alternative edge of things. And the number 6 pulls us back to turn inward for healing the heart, healing the family, healing the community, healing the world. Number 7 is a very spiritual number, all about being perched above this world, observing it, studying it, and asking why. How does this all work? Spiritual seekers who come to God consciousness through their minds are usually 7-path souls, because of asking why, and finally getting to the understanding of what consciousness really is. The number 8 is about power, influence, and it's also laid on its side, and it's that number, that symbol
It's
of
infinity, right?
infinity, right? So 8 means, how are you using your power in the world? Are you just being greedy and taking care of yourself, or are you empowering others, helping others? Because if you're on the 8 path, you are a very powerful soul. And if you're on the 9 path, it means that it's a learning journey this lifetime. It's finishing up all of your lessons you've had in many lifetimes and sort of passing the test of human life and saying, I've learned now that the physical world is not ever going to really make me happy. And I am now seeking that higher understanding of what lives beyond the physical and the real meaning of humanity. If a 9-path soul has an empty life, they can become very negative and bitter and cynical. But the minute they say, I'm going to have work and a life that makes a difference, that helps others, now they're accomplishing what they've come to do in all of these lifetimes. And guess what, Trey?
Oh my
You are
gosh.
a
I'm another,
Taurus, 9-path.
yeah, 9-path. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that sounds like me.
Yep.
Well, I
Yep.
mean, to your point about realizing that this physical world, this
Mm-hmm.
material world cannot bring you that fulfillment.
Right.
right? And but I find it true to me. Like I don't anyone don't take this the wrong way, right? But it's like just putting myself on cruise control
Right.
and gliding through life and saying, okay, I'm good, man. I got my career, got my salary, got my kids, got my house, and we're just gonna ride this thing out to retirement. Like put me out of my misery. Like it's not that I don't appreciate those things, and I really and genuinely am grateful for those things. It's just like I just feel a greater calling. I feel like a pull, right? Like
Think of it this way. You are usually the highly evolved soul in the room. And you have a choice. You either stand in the back of the room and look at all of the crazy people and the disappointing values and all of that and go, oh my God, this place is awful. I'm just going to lay low and get by. Or you step to the front of the room and start teaching people what it's really about. That is a 9-path life, well lived, and helping people navigate this world. Because one of the gifts of your path on the 9 is that you have been here many lifetimes. So it is easy for you to make a successful living and to get the family and the home and all of that. And when you're lost on the 9 path, you are very competent at everything you do. And so you can just go, well, I'll just go on cruise control, like you're saying, and get it all done. And then you lose your soul in a way. I don't mean that seriously. We can never lose our soul. We are our soul. But your soul is going, oh my God, you are an old, wise being who came to help people understand life in a much deeper way. You have to get to it. You have to make a difference. And that's in your journey. You've even got Taurus, the sun sign Taurus, wrapped around your 9 path, which means there was a phase in your life where just being on the earth and getting all that career going was so comfortable and you were so good at it. And like the bull, when the bull gets moving forward, you can accomplish whatever you're trying to do. And then you hit a reinvention point. And according to your numbers, it looks like you had a pretty big reinvention point 5 or 6 years ago. And that
hmm,
may have been when you said, hey, I got to find a deeper meaning here, or I'm going to lose my mind. I'm feeling so empty. And you also have a gift for artistic endeavors. If you ever studied music or any of those things, you would have been very good at that. And they can still bring you a lot of healing and meaning. But actually, a Taurus 9 path, if I could have chosen a career for you, Trey, I would have said, be a medical doctor or an alternative health doctor, but work with helping people heal the body and live in the body in a different way, a different understanding of health. And at this point in your life, I know you're not going to go to med school, but you could do something like teach classes, or you're doing a podcast about healthy living, body, mind, and soul, because that is really what you are here to help humanity with. Does any of that resonate with you?
yeah, like 5, 6 years ago, I started this podcast platform. So for sure, like reinventing myself, like taking a leap into the unknown and the uncomfortable
Yeah.
to really just kind of find who I am at the core, right? And just continue to pursue that curiosity and that passion, the joy, and
Mhm.
it ultimately led me here to you, Sue, having a conversation about consciousness and angels and everything that like really lights me up.
Mhm.
Um, it's just so fascinating because it's like, how in the world is a number 9? It's funny because I do see like 99999 like
Right.
9 fairly
People
often.
always people always see a significant number that has to do with their path. And until they know numerology, they don't know why that number is always showing up. But what was your career? I'm curious, before you reinvented, what was your career?
I was in transportation, specifically. I'm a third generation railroader, so very blue collar. And I can chop it up with the boys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hard worker.
Yep.
it's funny you talk about like the Taurus like building up steam and
Right.
pursuing that, right? Same thing as a freight train, right? Or a
Yeah.
train.
And with the bull Taurus,
Yeah. It's just so
But
fascinating how like, but they're
right.
tools though. They're helping you tap into something
Yeah.
that is resonating with me and helping me hear something that I need to hear. And
Yeah.
I am about health and wellness because I feel like there's
Good.
something to biohacking, um,
Yes.
to live the most efficient path that you can, and taking care of yourself, whether that's recently I've got into fasting,
Oh,
intermittent
good.
fasting.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Fasting is such a good thing for us. It really allows our immune system to rebuild and really help clean up the body, so to speak.
sure. And
Mhm.
then there's also like I'm hit or miss on like cold plunge. I think
Mhm.
I think if I do one day when I have like a sauna slash cold plunge and going from
Yes.
extreme hot to extreme cold and kind of putting your body into that fight or flight and then just allowing it to clear some of that. Uh,
Someday, when you have time, I want you to take a class in something like the energy centers of the body or Reiki or, any of those kinds of alternative things, because I think you would just light up doing that sort of work. And you could have your own practice. It's kind of like you would also do your podcast because you're a great teacher, but and then say, come and take my class and I'll show you where all your body centers of power are, and we'll work with our energy to help us live a more powerful awakened life. You are very good at that sort of thing. In fact, I even just got this image. Yes, you've even done that in other lifetimes, that kind of a healer,
oh, really? Um,
perhaps a shaman or something
a
like that.
shaman using you going on journeys.
Yeah.
Where did you get that hit from? Are you just tapping into something, a spirit
You
guide or something?
you always ask that question like, gee, how did that
Hmm.
enter your logic brain? Well, it doesn't. It just downloads.
Well, I feel like you've been downloading books the entire time we've had this episode. Like I'm getting pulling it. You're just pulling in all this information, and
That's
I'm
good.
trying to digest it. So I agree. I think I've always been interested in healing modalities, especially like regression therapy too.
Oh, yes.
I think that stuff is very fascinating, like QHHT.
Yep.
I think you have some
I
experience
Yeah,
with
I'm a soul
regression.
regression therapist. I was trained by Dr. Linda Bachman, who studied with the OG, the original
The
Michael Newton.
OG.
Yeah. And so I get to take clients on that journey back to a significant past lifetime that has meaning for today and help them apply what they learn and experience into their current life. That is such a profoundly helpful thing, especially for grieving people, because often they'll go back and see, oh, well, my son and I, we were brother and sister in this other life, and here's what happened to us in that life, and here's what we were learning there, and so now in this life it's a different kind of lesson, but it applies to what was happening to us, and it helps the client go, oh wow, these soul agreements are timeless, they are eternal. Yes, your people that you incarnate with are the same souls you've incarnated with in every lifetime, all with the intention of helping each other grow and saying, hey, I'll take the role of being the bad guy in your life. I'll take the role of breaking your heart. I'll take the role of loving you unconditionally, because we're all working together to help each other.
Mm. So nine, right? Like what is the life path for that? Like what is it that you want to learn? It's to something about
You
um
want to help. You want to change your career, your life to focus on making a difference for people, because it's the bridge number. It's the number where, think of yourself on this beautiful cliff overlooking this incredible canyon and water and ocean, and you are looking up at the beautiful sky saying, I have learned everything about this physical life, and now I want to lift up into the stars, into the higher reality, and experience that while I'm still walking on earth, so I can teach people about it, show it to them. And that's why hospice workers are often nine-path souls, nurses are often nine-path souls, because they're able to stand on the earth and be with a person as that person's soul is traveling to the divine. Many mediums are also on the nine path because they're able to be here on earth and then just clearly say, here's what your departed father is saying. And that bridge from this world to the beyond, that's what you came to do.
Oh, I love it. It resonates. My heart is on fire. I had a meditation today, right?
Mhm.
With some binaural beats.
Mm.
And my intent was to connect with the Christ, or not Christ, excuse me,
Yes.
God source, God consciousness.
Well, we can
And
call it
same thing,
Christ.
same thing. It's
We can call
semantics,
it
right?
Christ consciousness because Jesus was not Christ. Christ is a word from the Arabic translation that just means Holy One. And so we connect with the Christ consciousness, saying we are connecting with the source of love for all of humanity.
Sure. Um, I'm just trying to word it the way I worded it
Yeah.
in the meditation. So I set this intention and I linked up with that. And it was I simply asked, like, what is, how do I reach that success that I'm yearning for, that unknown pull from the universe, right? And the image that I got was a key. Like it was like a pair of hands handing me a key, and the
Oh,
lock was my heart, right? And to unlock
oh, beautiful.
the key to success is my unlocking of my heart and the joy of the thing that I am doing. And that is where success is. And I thought it was very metaphoric in my
Mhm.
life because this is my heart. This podcast is my heart. It is my joy. It is having conversations with you, Sue. It's conversations with all of the people that have had different subjective experiences in this reality and being able to bring it together here and present that to my audience and not say specifically this is the way. It is a
Right,
one way
right.
to that knowledge. And I think people get caught up. And the one thing I want to be completely transparent about is like, yes, I may have the lingo on some of, I don't know anything about numerology, but I can definitely have a conversation with someone about Christ consciousness, God source, universe,
Right.
whatever. But I am just like everyone else on the path, like, and just really evolving as consciousness and awakening to this self-awareness of self, like what is that self, what is that, right? And finding out more about that. So
Yeah.
these conversations fire me up and it's just interesting that you said like being a healer or like looking into modalities that help people with power centers and helping people in that way physically. Because I've recently been really interested in like chiropractic, like
Oh God,
services.
that would be so good. You would be an awesome chiropractor. I know you won't believe this, but I wanted to say chiropractor, but then I thought, no, he's too old. He won't go to school
Too
for
old. Come
chiropractor.
on, Sue.
Well,
Too
simply
old.
because you have kids to raise,
I
and
know.
I don't know if you can afford to just be in school for many years, but
For many
chiropractors take a
years.
while.
It does. It does. It does. I'm gonna watch a bunch of YouTube and I'm just gonna start practicing on my kids. My wife, like I watch, like I'm so addicted to like watching like the shorts where the guys are going in for
Yeah,
the alignment
right.
and straightening out because I feel like there is something to straightening. Like I've had like one
Absolutely.
adjustment and I felt like totally my body like reacted
Yeah.
totally different. Like I had a it was like chemical like
Yeah. It opened all
reset
the energy centers. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. I think there's something to that, and there needs to
Mhm.
be more like I can't find one where I'm at where it's like more holistic and like
Mhm.
and like wellness. It's more or less it's always wrapped around the idea of like sickness and illness. It's like, all right,
Well,
what are
then
you
that's
coming in
your
here?
job to create
I
that.
know, right? Here we go. Down that path.
That's
Sue, I
right.
know you do a little bit of channeling, right?
Hmm.
Or a lot of channeling. And I didn't know if you're open to this or not, but in closing, we've gone a little bit over. But do you mind like doing like an angelic channeling or channeling
Yes.
whoever you channel for the audience and like closing out like the message going forward
Yes.
into 2024?
Yes, let's do that right now, everybody. Let's take a deep breath. And let's see what the angels want us to know about 2024. We are very delighted that humans are aware of energy patterns and very aware that 2024 is a pivotal year in this evolution of humanity, because without awareness, nothing can change. But we want everyone to know that the energy of the 2024 is power. How are we each using our power? That is the question to ask yourself. And if you feel that your power helps people, holds the light of awareness for others, focuses on kindness, compassion, and love, then you are using your power correctly, and it will serve you in 2024, and it will help humanity pivot at this time and align more fully with higher consciousness and light, the light of awareness. We have waited eons to see this happen. And now is the time when all forces are coming together to bring all things that need healing to the surface and all things that can heal the world to the present moment. And as those two energies merge, the world can be and will be transformed. And we bless all of humanity because we want humanity to be saved on Earth. It is an important part of the universe, of the galaxies, because Earth beings have mostly still have open hearts. This is rare in the future lives, in future galaxies. And so we are nurturing humanity along to rely on the open heart wisdom that will save not only Earth, but will trickle out to influence, heal, and empower other galaxies and all beings. And so it is.
Beautiful. Sue, Reverend Sue, thank you for taking the time. How can people
Thank you.
find you?
SueFrederick.com, my website, and my books. They're all on Amazon, Sue Frederick.
Pick them up, read them, reach out to her, touch base, get a reading. I can't believe this has gone by so quick. We have to do this again. Sue, thank you so
Yes.
much for taking the time. This has been beautiful and magical for sure.
Thank you.